This man is going returned in time to excessive faculty to jot down his wrongs. Boy, I may want to try this. So we are first given a little excursion of Hayden excessive faculty. Then we see a younger boy hooping. He is simply making return-to-return baskets. Now no longer one brick, now no longer one air ball. What a man. His call is Michael Donald. The year is 1989. Mike's Teach Murphy is available in and tells him that he simply spoke with the scout who is equipped to present him a complete scholarship to university if he can pay most effective a half of what he is able to this night. Oh, you already know this isn't always going to stop properly. The relaxation of the crew now come round to pose for an image. Mike says they cannot take the image without his excellent pal Ned. And one of the men says who cares, he is the waterboy. However, Mike says it would not count. Number he is part of the crew as he says that Ned is available in. And I have to mention his dad and mom named him simply proper due to the fact he's a nerd. Besides, Ned joins and that they take the image after that it is recreation time. The cheerleaders are doing their element at the same time as Ned and Mike are having a verbal exchange. Mike joins the women to bop and he is in reality killing it. He looks as if he can do all of it. Once he is accomplished dancing, his lady friend Scarlett involves see him. She says the whole thing is quality. However, her face tells an absolutely special tale. She would not need to inform him. However, Mike insists, so she tells him she's pregnant. And it definitely ruins his temper. Relatable. He is going to plan. He is having the worst recreation of his lifestyles. All his teammates are yelling at him. His teach is yelling at him. The scout is giving him bizarre seams. And what does Mike do? He drops the ball and runs after his lady friend. Sir, what are you doing? This recreation is your destiny. And that is precisely what his lady friend tells him. However, he says no, the child is his destiny. And he is now no longer speak approximately hit rapper the child. Besides, they can each be your destiny on the equal time. It is now no longer like Scarlett is in hard work proper. Now he is accessible, lifting his lady friend and twirling her round at the same time as the sport goes on properly. I wager we are all silly and excessive faculty, even the big name ballers. That stupidity lands Mike, in which he's now squatting with internet and having to concentrate to him chunk so loudly after Scarlett kicked him out of the residence. Plus she's submitting for divorce via way of means of the manor. What are the one's ears on Ned? Besides, it seems that Mike is meant to get a massive promoting at paintings nowadays. He is going into the workplace and his boss is making a presentation announcing perhaps in certain conditions being bricked up for 4 hours isn't always this type of horrible element. There is simply no state of affairs on this universe or out of doors it in which that isn't always a horrible element, and there is no man or company can spend that properly. After the presentation, he says, we're going to be naming the new regional income supervisor. Mike thinks it is him. He is smiling and winking. However, rude, it is now no longer him. It is Wendy who is sitting proper beside him. In truth, he requested Mike to transport so he can congratulate Wendy. Double jeopardy, bro. The girls are satisfied for Wendy. I say girls due to the fact Mike and the 4-hour man are the most effective men on the meeting. The girls go away and Mike is going to confront the boss. Wendy has been on the corporation simply months at the same time as Mike has been there for 16 years. How come she turned into the only who were given the promoting intercourse is a second? The man is giving a few BS rationalization and Mike is headed as much as right here. He's taking the boss's earpiece, smashes it at the wall and quits to add insult to damage at the same time as Mike is with inside the elevator. The women are available and are chanting Wendy Wendy. Isn't always that too many human beings for one elevator? Via way of means of the manor. Besides, Mike drives immediately to his excessive faculty and walks into the basketball courtroom. Docket of Rudy regrets his selection to that day. How could not he is on foot across the faculty and wondering return to how matters have been for him. Return then at the same time as he is searching on the imagograph they took. Return then this Santa Claus searching janitor walks as much as him and calls out his call. Mike would not recognize him. However, manifestly he is aware of Mike. He is now announcing that high school stars like Mike, who failed to stay as much as their potential, continually go back to the faculty to imagograph the glory days and surprise what might have been. I too peaked in excessive faculty. He says they may be continually residing with inside the beyond. Mike says if Rudy does need to stay with inside the beyond, then Santa Claus says, I'll wager you may do all of it over once more. Mike says you obtain that proper. Santa Claus says are you certain? Approximately that. And Mike says oh yeah, simply. Then the bell is going and his daughter comes out with 3 of her buddies. She asks what he is doing there and he desired to mention he turned into simply speaking to the janitor. However, he reveals out that the janitor turned into nowhere to be located. He had disappeared. He tells his daughter to head get her brother in order that they can move for a few ice cream. In the meantime, her buddies are fawning over him. Mike, his daughter Maggie, and his son Alex are now at this ice cream region. And why are there such a lot of children? He is seeking to get a few conversations going together along with his children. However, it is now no longer in reality. Running his son is additionally a basketball participant, and Mike is seeking to make certain he is on target to get a scholarship. He drops the children domestic and he sees his spouse destroying the backyard. He confronts her, and she or he tells him it is now no longer their backyard, it is her backyard. And from this verbal exchange, we discover that Mike has spent the ultimate 18 years trying this pupil, approximately what he may want to have accomplished without her. Oh, I see why she desires a divorce, as they may be nonetheless on the backyard. Naomi, Scarlett's excellent pal, indicates up, and what must she say? That they have to position Scarlett returned available in the marketplace. She even informed her she's caked up. Besides, the girls move into the residence simply as the climate adjustments of dramatic drop of rain falls on Mike whilst he is going in his automobile, and as he is using domestic abnormal matters begin occurring. The radio is converting via way of means of itself, after which he sees a person standing at the railing of the bridge equipped to soar down. Being a terrific guy, Mike receives down from his automobile to try to get the guy to return back down, after which he reveals out that it is Santa Claus janitor. He returns, smiles at Mike, after which, after a truck passes, we do not see him once more. My automobile used to appearance down the bridge, and he sees something that looks as if a hollow. In that hollow, he can see his more youthful self waving at him than earlier than we comprehend it. He is pulled into the hollow. Subsequent element we see is of, in reality, muddy 17 years antique Mike. Stepping out of his automobile and into his residence to take a bath, he sees himself with inside the reflect and screams. Ned hears that and places on his excellent gladiator appearance to move after the intruder. Mike is making an attempt to give an explanation for that it is him. However, Ned simply continues swinging his axe in him. Mike takes her defend from the wall to shield himself and ultimately throws guys downstairs. He jumps down athletically and says, "Oh wow, I sense amazing." However, that isn't always but satisfied. He continues attacking Mike with a sword. Why does this man have such a lot of gladiator guns? However, this isn't always even a Shaggy Dog story. He almost stabs Mike with inside the chest. However, Mike manages to show to the ultimate second, so Nat most effective receives the chair that would not prevent him. He is nonetheless swinging a Mick, now no longer being attentive to his pal who has been announcing, "It is me, Mike. It is a me, Mike." The combat quickly switches from the use of gladiator guns to the use of lightsabers, and now Mike is making an attempt to inform Ned matters approximately him that most effective his excellent pal might recognize, such as the truth that one in every of his boss hasn't dropped, but I really did now no longer want to recognize that. However, what's up? That also would not persuade him. He places Mike at the floor and is going to clutch something to damage his head, and that element takes place to be a magograph of him with Mike returned in excessive faculty that turned into what eventually satisfied him. However, he nonetheless dropped the imagograph on Mike's head and he blacked out. After a while, Mike wakes up and Ned may not prevent staring at him at the same time as he is icing his hat. He is freaked out. I imply who may not be. He is seeking to parent out how this transformation occurred. Even though his idea has something to do with gamma rays, it is why a lot of these books are littered on his desk. However, the maximum probably rationalization is spirit manual transformation magic. Essentially, Mike has been converted via way of means of a spirit manual to set him on a new path, his spirit manual being the janitor. So he rushes to the faculty and is soliciting for the janitor. However, no one at faculty is aware of him or has ever visible him. In truth, he looks as if a madman soliciting for this janitor. Then the lights flicker. He sees water at the ground and strains it right all the way down to the basketball courtroom docket. It is sufficient for him. He rushes return to internet and tells him he has all of it figured out. He is going return to high school. They get in an issue over that. However, Mike and says Ned then reluctantly has the same opinion. However, tells Mike now no longer to suck him into any of this as excessive faculty turned into the bottom factor of his lifestyles. What do you watch takes place of rude. He turned into sucked in what are excellent buddies, for they may be now on the mains workplace, after which he is acting as Mike's dad and they may be seeking to get Mike enrolled. Ned sees the main Jane Masterson and absolutely falls in love together along with her at the start. Facity attempts to shoot a shot via way of means of calling Mike, who is now going via way of means of. Mark via way of means of the manner a bastard. He tells Jan he is unmarried and rich can't relate besides for the single element. However, permits take a minute to examine what Mike is sporting. What the hell is all this? Besides Mike Kansas cast transcripts way to Ned to the main, and it works, she says. She thinks Hayden might be fortunate to have him, and she or he admits him in preference to Ned announcing his goodbyes. He comes to a decision to retain taking pictures his shot, and this factor adjustments immediately up, tells him she would not date college students' dad and mom, and he essentially inference. However, I suppose that would not section him. They move to faculty. Mike attempts to hit on Maggie's buddy's form of sus. Consider they have been preventing over him the opposite time. However, they simply blow him off now, and now no longer in the amusing manner. Then Ned says, "Welcome to the backside of the meals chain of." Rudy is familiar with what it looks like to be there. All of us do not we? He now tells Mike they may be going purchasing, so at least he would not seem like a douche. Subsequent day, Mike. Or must we are saying Mark pulls up at faculty in an reality candy automobile searching like of an reality cool child, and now all eyes are on him. However, he receives with inside the hallway the bell is going, and he appears misplaced. His college students pour in from all facets. He is actually simply being driven from all facets. He eventually receives into magnificence and nonetheless seems misplaced whilst his spouse calls. He is imagined to be on the divorce element, however he forgot he is now making up excuses. Whilst a woman in magnificence requested Mike if he might take into account courting a 10th grader of root. You understand how that could sound to Scarlett, so her legal professional right away says they are able to move for complete custody. Mike says she cannot take his children far from him, and she or he asks, considering whilst do you care, simply as Maggie turned into on foot into the magnificence. So Mike says I'm loads towards them. Then you watched and of Rudy turned into speak. Actually it is quite creepy. Alvin, though he waves to Megan, she's now no longer in reality, feeling her more youthful dad. However, her pal is I do not know approximately this film. Now he is on the basketball courtroom docket, and he is in reality having the time of his lifestyles. The teach walks in. Wager who the teach is. Sure, Teach Murphy. Mike sees him and says you are nonetheless right here, and coach is stressed. Why are you stressed, Alvin? Though you desire to inform me, you do not consider this face. He turned into actually your big name participant. Come on. Besides Teach Murphy says it is his ultimate years essing manner, telling her she looks as if his canine who is lifeless. This man has zero recreation, or riz, as the children name it, in recent times. However, earlier than we comprehend it, he is on Hearth Place, and now no longer on Hearth Place, as in he is now announcing the proper matters. However, actually on Hearth Place, so he runs into the restroom. Simply around that point, Mike reveals Maggie, who would not appear precisely thrilled to peer him there. However, Mike would not care. He is going immediately to addressing the elephant with inside the room. He asks her why she's courting Stan, thinking about he is loopy and all. And she or he tells him now no longer to mention that approximately him. However, she is going on to inform him worse matters, such as that she and Stan will be transferring in collectively after commencement, and Mike says there is no manner in hell it is occurring. He tells her he may not permit or surrender her destiny for a few psychopath who would not even care approximately water, and he is going on to mention he forbids her from ever seeing him once more. She turned into certain to react after that. She says, who do you watched? You are my father. In truth, however, of Rudy would not inform her. Besides, she walks away. Subsequent we see Scarlett and this new man at the excessive faculty basketball courtroom docket. They've come to look at Alex, and she or he's simply remembering that the ultimate time she turned into right here. Mike requested her to marry him. Besides, Mike is at the courtroom docket. There is only a little much less than a minute left to play. He seems round and sees Stan kissing his daughter and some other guy sitting so near his spouse of rude. It affects him, however it acts as gas this time. He rankings a few important factors and assists. Alex has scored the triumphing 3 factors. Alex is the hero. Now Nicole runs as much as him to hug and congratulate him, however he is nonetheless very awkward. Now we see the main being requested out via way of means of net out of doors. The faculty, she says no, so he says he's going to purchase each scholar a PC. How wealthy is Ned in reality? Besides, she has the same opinion to head out with him, despite the fact that she insists it is now no longer a date. She simply desires him to prevent the harassment. He has a limo equipped, however she stated she would not need any of that. So they simply move with inside the automobile. Mike sees him entering into the mains automobile. Simply after promising Alex he's going to get him some other danger with Nicole, and he proclaims a victory celebration at his residence. his residence being Ned's residence of. Rudy is going to the amphitheater and sees Maggie crying there all by myself. Stan dumped her due to the fact she failed to need to play with the balloons he were given from Magnificence. He offers her a few phrases of encouragement, and she or he attempts to kiss him, so we simply had to wiggle himself. Far from that, however, God is aware of he turned into breaked up. He invitations me to the celebration this night, and every person else is getting invited too. Now we are on the celebration, and everybody's there. Alex is doing higher with Nicole in the meantime. Ned with inside the main are on their date. Ned is being an absolute weirdo with the wine, smelling it and making a few bizarre sounds with it in his mouth. She offers him a glance, so he simply confesses that he would not recognize the way to act ordinary, and he is simply doing all of this to electrify her. He might now no longer commonly do any of this kind of stuff. He confesses that what he might as an alternative do is spend 10 grand on Gandalf the Grey's quarterstaff from the towers, and who might have guessed it, she's additionally a fan. They join on that, and that is it. He isn't returned on the celebration. Stan remains traumatic Maggie for sussy sports, however she manages to face up to the stress and inform him she's with a person else now. Simply then Mike indicates up and asks him to go away the celebration earlier than he leaves. Mike swings at him, however, Stan holds his hand and punches him in the face. He blacks out. He wakes up announcing he had the craziest dream. He turned into returned in excessive faculty, and all that he is calling Scarlet's call. However, to his absolute horror, it is of his daughter proper there, and it is form of a nightmare that we are gonna bypass over. He is going for walks round, seeking to break out, or however she thinks he is simply gambling video games. So she's simply going for walks round after him. He attempts to prevent her from doing something with him, so she simply assumes he is now no longer approximately that lifestyles that should have all been very horrifying for Mike. In the meantime, Ned's date goes amazing. They may be even speaking in Gandalf's language. They may be equipped to go domestic. Now that domestic via way of means of the manor remains absolutely filled with the excessive schooler she governs, and we see Scarlet are available to search for Alex. Mike stops her and tells her Alex is quality and can actually have a lady friend be a way of means of the stop of the night time. Then he's taking her upstairs. Jane and Ned now pull up on the residence and are met with overall chaos. However, with simply one whistle, Jane receives every person to disperse. She's in reality suitable at a process, isn't always she. Besides, Mike is upstairs with Scarlet looking Alex have amusing, and Scarlet is speaking approximately how excellent it's far that Mike, I must say, mark on this example, cares approximately Alex so a great deal due to the fact the boy in reality wishes a role version. Mike tells her she's of amazing mother pretty much the time that Maggie and her buddies trap sight of them at the balcony, as they may be nonetheless looking. He makes a circulate on Scarlet and receives a slap and go back. She's on foot quickly away from him at the same time as he is chasing her and telling her he is simply her husband and the daddy of her children. She would not need to pay attention. It's simply then Maggie and her buddies display up and slap him one after the opposite. Now it is a celebration, however. It is now no longer most effective. Unhappy nighttime for Mike. It is also an unhappy nighttime for Ned. Jane says she cannot do this, as the scholars have already visible her with a scholar's discern. Mike comes and apologizes, however, he receives 4 slaps and a hug from Ned. Subsequent morning, Ned is cleansing up at the same time as Mike is sulking due to the fact he has misplaced his own circle of relatives. Ned tells him to transport on, however, he says he would not need to. By the way, that is the equal day that courtroom docket listening to for the divorce is meant to occur, in order that they rush off to courtroom docket in a candy yellow Lamborghini convertible. Mike holds up a siren, and that enables them arrive simply in time to preserve up the Choose's ruling that heads a caste regulation diploma to the Choose, and she or he shall we him speak. However, one sentence is sufficient for her to recognize that is BS, so she tells the orderly to take them out. However, Mike says he has a letter for Mike, and Scarlet says she'd want to pay attention it, so they permit him. The lender is essentially microminding Scarlet of ways they met the homecoming dance. Whilst she first informed them she cherished him, now he misplaced his manner as he grew up and blamed her for the whole thing. Mike is tearing up now. Scarlet is tearing up too. However, the Choose isn't always. She tells Mike to go away. He drops the paper there and walks out with Ned. Scarlet requested for postponement, and the Choose postpones the case for 30 days. Then she is going to select out up the paper Mike dropped, and it is just a few irrelevant guidelines written at the paper that tells her all she wishes to recognize. Later at nighttime, Mike is hooping at Ned's residence. He is practicing to electrify the university scouts. Ned says if he is going to university, he'd get off his spirit course, and Mike yells, "There is no course, I cannot do it." He says every person is happier with him out of the Imagigraph, so he is simply seeking to circulate on now. At approximately the equal time Scarlett is going through an excessive faculty yearbook to remind herself of what Mike seemed like return. Then she is going out and sees a hammock with a word and a hoop on it. The word is from Mike. And it says I may want to end all of the matters I started at the same time. As she's nonetheless retaining the note, Maggie comes and says it is time to head. Then we see Mike at the basketball courtroom docket hooping and practicing for the sport, and coach is available in and offers the precise equal speech he gave returned in 1989. Then they move take of the Imagigraph. Then the cheerleaders do their element you already know, precisely because it turned into in 1989 Scarlett and Maggie display as much as watch the sport, and Mike and Scarlett lock eyes. Ned in the meantime has now no longer given up on Jan. He indicates up on this bizarre teach and attempts to win her once more. However, she insists she can't be visible with the discerned scholar. He then replies, however Jane, how will you be visible with me once I'm sporting the cloak of invisibility and accept as true with it? Or now no longer. She reveals it. Hilarious. Ned now says all he is asking is to be buddies. However, all of us recognize it is a lie. Besides, she has the same opinion, or in her phrases, you can plunder my dungeon each time. Whoa. In the meantime, Mike at the courtroom docket now makes a gesture at Scarlett, and she or he simply is going, oh my god, I cannot be right here once more, I need to move, and she or he simply stands up and leaves. From there the whole thing from the 1989 recreation and the prevailing are simply intertwining in his head. What does he do? He fingers the ball over to Assad, tells him it is your flip now, and runs after his spouse. His spirit manual may be very satisfied, approximately the selection he simply made. As he is going for walks in the direction of his spouse, he transforms, return to his person self. She tells him he failed to need to come after her once more. However, he says he needed to due to the fact he loves her. He tells her she's the excellent selection he ever made. He simply forgot. He says he desires to make it as much as her, if she will be able to simply deliver him a second danger and rattling proper. She once more they make up, and that they stroll out at the same time, as Alex is killing it at the courtroom docket. Now Mike is at Ned's residence. He is packed and equipped to go away, so he is going to present Ned his key returned, and Viola it is. Ned with inside the principal placing out, oh without fears I see I shall chorus from judgment, because it seems Mike is taking on from Murphy as teach of the excessive faculty basketball crew. Amazing process ethical of the tale. Simply stroll as much as her and say hi.